Okay, we're back and we're going through teams 5 through 1, starting with so now we're going to team 5, which is Chris O'Leary's team. Now Chris has a unusual strategy for his team. He he'll pick up a lot of players who are hot, who are doing really well, you know, in the last week or whatever. Um, and that strategy's worked out for him. He won 1 year. But you look at his team. He's got Mark Teixeira, who he traded for, who's off to a slow start. Ryan Howard, solid. Aaron Hill, slow start. Ichiro, doing okay. Corey Cantu's had a good start. And then you look at the guys who have had breakout years, really hot right now. Casey McGee, Jose Bautista, Adrian Beltran, Kobe Rasmus, Nick Johnson. Guys like that, who aren't typical fantasy contributors, having really good starts, and they're on Chris's team. Pitching wise, Chris always has a lot of pitchers who, he has a few aces, but then he also has some, okay guys, get you some strikeouts, but give up some runs. He's got CC Sabathia, Giovanni Gallardo, Andy Pettit, Doug Fister, who I traded Doug Fister to Chris. Chris has given up saves, called punting in fantasy. When you punt, you just give up a category, so he's giving up saves. But he's got guys like Jeff Neiman, Gio Gonzalez, guys you haven't heard of every day, Colby Lewis, but they're having pretty good years, and that excuse me, that works for Chris's team. Um, Chris, unfortunately, our division is very tough. Much tougher than the other division. So he's currently 3.5 games out of the division lead, but he's in fifth place. Um, and he always has a strong team usually, and it's definitely not a team that you want to run into in the playoffs. Team that can get hot. If he gets the pitching, can be, he can be very tough to beat. But you know, it's all about what week you catch Chris. Catch him on a cold week, then with his players, then you're in luck. Otherwise, you're in for a long day. Uh, Next, we have Eric Meberg's team in fourth place. Um, oh, sorry, I want to go back to Chris's team for a second. I didn't do the stats there. Um, if we look at Chris's team, we see that hitting. This is Chris's thing. He loves power hitters, and right away we see runs, hits, home runs, RBIs. He's all way above 500. Not steals. He's 0-4. OPS, 500. Um, we look at pitchers. And this is why Chris's team is in fifth place. Solid numbers. K's. He's above 500 ERA, well above 500 WHIP, 6-1. Wins, he's 4-2. So that's a very solid team right there. Playing a tough division, but that's a very, very solid team. Um, tough. If he has a good week, it's tough to beat him. So now we'll go to Eric's team. Um, Eric's team, fourth place right now, sitting. What is he? Currently a game and a half out of the division lead, tied with the third place team in our division. If we look at his team real quick, sort of get a glimpse. Matt Wieters, one of his keepers, having a pretty good year. Robinson Cano has been on fire, man. I mean, and he's had a great year. And the sort of the theme for Eric's team, he's punted, stolen bases, and he has a lot of high contact guys, high power guys, high average guys. Euclid, solid year. Steven Drew, solid year. Miguel Cabrera hitting the crap out of the ball, just had 3 home runs the other night. Sin-Soo Choo, solid number 3 hitter for the Indians. Nick Markakis, okay year, but he can bring out. He just traded for Adam Lind, who's off to a slow start, but has a 35 home run potential guy. Adam Dunn, always up there in home runs, 40 plus potential. Carlos Quinton, off to a slow start. Then he's got a nice trade potential guy with Carlos Gonzalez, who steals some bases. But so we'll see if, and is also a keeper for next year. So we'll see if Eric tries to deal him. But definitely great potential. And then he fleeced Longo in a trade earlier with Carlos Santana. I'm sorry, Carlos Santana, catcher of the future for the Indians. Eric sort of got unlucky with Grady Sizemore, injury prone, wasted top pick on him. So that's sort of for him. But if we look at the pitching, staff. What was a weakness early on for Eric, what many thought was a weakness, so it's going to hinder his team, has actually turned into a strength. Led by Zach Greinke, tough year, wins, losses, but great peripherals. Tim Lincecum got recently rocked a little bit, but he 2 Cy Young awards in a row. He's great. He did a great job picking pitchers who had down years last year. Francisco Liriano and David Price, really helping his team. They're having amazing years. Jonathan Sanchez, another lights out, high strikeout guy. Clay Buchholz, doing well for the Red Sox. His closers have sort of hurt him a little bit with his ERA. Cordero, Marmolo's been very good, but Dotel at times. Brad Lidge has hurt him. Trevor Hoffman. But Eric also has Steven Strasburg waiting in the wings, so this is a very deadly pitching staff. And Eric's team, while he's played with us, he always has a competitive team, very strong in pitching, always, and is always a tough out. You know, and if we look at the stats, we'll see that hitting, he's about a 500 hitting team, but that's all really he needs to do to stay competitive because his pitching is what can really carry him. Really doesn't stand out in any of the hitting categories, but if we look at pitching, we see that that's where he, he's actually had an okay year, but that's where we expect to see him make up his most ground. Losses, saves. He's above 500 Ks. He's 5-2. So that's what I say. A very balanced team. Even though he has good pitching, balanced though, outside of the stolen bases, and he'll definitely make the playoffs, I think, and you know, you expect him to possibly make a run. If we look at the totals, we see if he's gotten lucky or not. We see that wins, not really a lot of wins. His pitchers have been unlucky there. Losses, he's in the middle of the pack, it seems. Saves, he's up near the top. Strikeouts as well, he's up there, top 3. ERA, is 4th. He always brings out a good pitching team. Same as Whip is in 4th. You can always count on Eric to have a very tight pitching staff. In terms of the hitting, middle of the pack in runs, middle of the pack in hits. That sort of seems the way it is with his hitting. Middle of the pack, but still solid, not up or down in any category. Let's see. Team 3 is Tim. Tim last year was his rookie year, coming back this year, playing with us again. Or I don't actually, I'm not sure about that. But if you look at Tim's team got out to a blistering start. Really doing well. He's got a great outfield. Very deep. Starts with Victor Martinez, Justin Morneau, Brandon Phillips, Longoria at third. Another very strong infield. Polanco was a great pickup. Holiday in the outfield. Jason Bay, Ryan Braun. Capitalizing off David Ortiz's recent hot streak. This is a hitting machine. One of the best offenses in the league. His team pummels guys hitting wise. Pitching, he's got the best player right now in the game, Ubaldo Jimenez, which anchors his staff. Otherwise, his staff is very underwhelming. He's got guys like James Shields. Tommy Hansen's been lit up a little bit lately. So is Peavy, Kershaw, Scott Baker. Those are middle guys. So his pitching staff is on the weaker side. His closers, he's only got 2 closers, so not very competitive. But this is still a team that if he can win the majority of the hitting categories, this is a team that you do not want to mess with. They will, if he can win the hitting categories and he can squeak out some pitching categories, watch out because that is a dangerous playoff team. And if we look at his weekly record, runs runs and hits, he's 6-1 and 5-1 respectively. Other than that, the other categories, he's about 500 team. We look at the pitching side, he's struggled with saves and strikeouts, 1-4, 1-6 respectively, but done well in whip, 5-2, and the other 2 categories is about 500. And that's sort of